I fixed my dopamine, my 48-hour phone reset. Your phone isn't just distracting you, it's training your brain to chase tiny dopamine hits instead of real rewards. That's why discipline keeps failing. It's not that you're weak. Your reward system got recalibrated by endless microstimuli. Today, I'll show you the simple neuroscience behind that, then give you a clear plan to reset it so your focus returns. There's a 48-hour reset that calms the cravings and a 3-minute craving kill you can use anytime. I'll jump straight into how the loop works, why it traps you, and exactly how to break it without quitting your phone. Thousands of viewers have already used this reset to cut pickups and finish work that's been stuck for months. Now it's your turn. The problem, why your focus keeps collapsing. Let's map the loop you already know by feel. Trigger, scroll, spike, crash, crave, repeat. A trigger can be anything, your lock screen lighting up, a ping, a boring moment, or an uncomfortable task. You open a feed, your dopamine bumps from novelty and unpredictability, you feel a quick lift, and then you crash. That small drop below baseline is the part nobody notices. It creates the urge to get back to even, so you scroll again. That's the loop. Now here's where most people mess up. They blame themselves, not the loop. They try to white-knuckle it, but the loop is designed to beat brute force because it's running on cues and rewards, not on your intentions. If you're exposed to constant cues, badges, previews, infinite scroll, the loop wins by volume. It's not about one massive temptation, it's 100 tiny ones stacked together. The attention tax is the silent cost. Every time you switch, your brain leaves a residue of the last task. That residue drags down the next minute, then the next, and the next. You think, I only checked for 30 seconds, but the recovery cost can be several minutes of lowered depth. Multiply that by 10 microchecks in an hour, and your focus can't sink into deep work. Shallow work replaces deep work, and your day fragments into tiny, unsatisfying pieces. The scary part is tolerance. The more frequent the stimulation, the less satisfying each hit becomes. Your brain adapts. The baseline drifts down. So you need slightly more novelty, slightly more variable rewards, slightly more time to feel the same lift. That's why your feeds get faster, your videos get shorter, and your breaks get longer without feeling restorative. You don't feel inspired, you feel wired. And wired is not the same as motivated. Let me show you exactly how this plays out on a normal morning. You wake up, you check notifications. You get a quick hit of novelty and social validation. Your brain says, this is the easiest reward available. Now you try to open a doc and write. Compare the stimulation level. Doc is low, phone is high. Your brain maps hard work equals low dopamine, phone equals high dopamine. Guess which wins the next time you feel friction. That's how the mapping flips your priorities without asking your permission. Once you nail that, everything else clicks. Because if it's a reward mapping issue, the solution isn't just more willpower. It's rearranging cues and rewards so the default becomes focus, and the cheap dopamine gets starved just enough that your baseline recovers. When your baseline rises, ordinary work starts to feel doable again. Not euphoric, doable. And doable is all you need to stack wins. There's another hidden cost. Context switching creates narrative breaks. When your brain can't hold a thread, you lose momentum. This is why complex tasks feel impossible mid-scroll season. It's not your intelligence, it's the depth you never reach. You can't build a mental model if you keep resetting the page every 5 minutes. Deep work requires unbroken time, not heroic effort. If you protect that time from triggers, your brain does what it's built to do: concentrate. The thing most people miss is how cravings show up. They rarely announce themselves as "I want dopamine." They show up as a tiny itch, a glance at the corner of your screen, a hand reaching for your phone, a thought like just one check. That itch is the cue. If you pause right there, label it, and delay 3 minutes, the urge drops dramatically. I'll teach that later, but commit this now. Craving is a wave, you don't have to surf it. Let's talk about attention residue with a concrete example. You're writing a proposal and a message comes in. You read it. It's neutral, but now your brain is holding 2 threads, your proposal and the message. Even if you put the phone down, some of your working memory is stuck spinning on the message. You try to write a sentence, it's clunky. You check again, 2 minutes vanish. That cycle feels harmless, but after an hour, you've spent 40 minutes doing almost nothing. You didn't choose that, the loop chose it for you. Now, why does willpower alone keep failing? Because your environment produces cues faster than your prefrontal cortex can veto them. Your brain evolved to respond to salient signals quickly. When the signal is engineered, red badges, autoplay, infinite feeds, your veto power is outgunned. The fix isn't to become superhuman, it's to remove or delay the cues so you don't spend willpower at all. Friction beats motivation. If an app takes 3 steps to open instead of 1, many urges die in transit. Okay, so what happens if we keep running the loop as is? You build a life of micro-rewards and macro-regret. Your projects stall. You stop trusting yourself. That's not dramatic, it's the math of fragmented attention. But the good news is just as real. The moment you reduce artificial spikes, your baseline begins to recover. Within 48 hours, many people feel calmer and less twitchy. Within a week, deep work starts to feel possible again. I've seen students go from 3-minute focus to 30-minute focus just by cutting triggers and adding structured, low-stim routines. Here's the shortcut nobody teaches. You don't need to delete everything forever. You need to reset the mapping. Put cheap dopamine on a schedule and pair real work with small, immediate rewards. That way, your brain learns, focus leads to a reward I care about. We'll build that into your day with a morning no-scroll, a protected deep work block before noon, and a clear shutdown so nights stop turning into doom scroll. But first, we fix the reward mapping at the root. If you remember nothing else from this section, remember this: the loop is predictable and predictable loops are beatable. Trigger awareness reduces automaticity. Friction starves impulses. Protected blocks restore depth. Small wins rebuild trust. And once you trust yourself again, you stop negotiating with every urge and start executing. The loop hijacked your reward, now we're going to take it back. Dopamine 101, what it does and what it doesn't. Let's get the mechanics straight so you stop blaming motivation when it's actually chemistry. Dopamine isn't constant pleasure. It's the signal that says, move toward that. It tags actions and cues with incentive salience, wanting, not necessarily liking. That's why you can want to check your phone without actually enjoying what you find. The wanting system is powerful, fast, and cue-driven. If cues are everywhere, wanting fires all day. The thing most people miss is baseline versus spike. You've got a resting level of dopamine tone, and then you've got transient pulses when something promising happens, a new message, a like, a novel video. Spikes feel good because they contrast with baseline. But here's the catch. The more you chase artificial spikes, the more your baseline drifts down over time. A lower baseline makes normal life feel flat, so you chase more spikes. That's the tolerance trap in biochemical clothing. This clicked for me when I noticed I felt unmotivated after a heavy scroll day. It wasn't a moral failure. It was a low baseline making everything feel heavy. When your baseline dips, even tasks you care about feel like pushing a boulder. You're not lazy, your nervous system is understimulated relative to what it got used to. Raise the baseline, and the same task stops feeling impossible. It's still work, but the friction drops from unbearable to manageable. Now, why do feeds hook you so efficiently? Prediction error. Your brain releases more dopamine when outcomes are better than expected. Variable rewards, sometimes a hilarious video, sometimes nothing, keep the error signal high. That's slot machine logic. If you know exactly what's coming, the spike fades. If it's unpredictable, your brain keeps sampling. Infinite scroll bakes variable rewards into the interface. You're not weak, you're wired to explore uncertainty. Let's separate liking and wanting. Liking is the pleasure you get after consumption. Wanting is the drive to pursue. They overlap, but they're not identical. You can want something you don't like much anymore. That's how tolerance feels. You can also like something after the fact, but not feel a strong urge to start. Think of workouts you enjoy in hindsight. When your environment pushes high wanting, low liking loops, you burn time chasing and feel empty after. That mismatch trains your brain to seek, not to savor. Habits wire around cues and rewards, not intentions. If the cue is your phone lighting up and the reward is novelty, your brain binds those two and automates the action. Intention, I'll be disciplined today, doesn't rewrite that circuit by itself. You have to change the cue exposure and change the reward assignment. That's why we'll pair deep work with immediate micro-rewards and put phone rewards on a schedule. You're not fighting the system, you're using it properly. Before we go further, a quick mental model. Think of your dopamine like a budget of contrast. Spikes borrow from the next window. If you rack up too many spikes early, the afternoon feels dull. That's why a no-scroll morning makes the rest of the day smoother. You protect your contrast for work that matters. The reason this works is that your brain recalibrates sensitivity when you reduce peak stimulation. You're letting receptors normalize, which makes real progress feel satisfying again. Okay, so how do baseline and spikes interact day to day? Baseline is shaped by sleep, nutrition, light exposure, and the average stimulation level you allow. Spikes come from novelty, rewards, and surprises. If mornings start with a spike fest, feeds, notifications, videos, you set a high reference point. Writing an email then feels like sensory drought. If mornings are low stim, water, sunlight, a short walk, the first deep work block becomes the day's first meaningful spike. Your brain tags it as rewarding because it stands out. Now here's where most people mess up. They try to cut all dopamine. That's not the move. You need dopamine to act. The goal isn't zero, it's balanced inputs. Remove the artificially frequent spikes, keep steady baseline supports, and let your work supply the dopamine through progress signals. That means visible progress, clear goals, small wins, and immediate micro-rewards after effort. You're teaching your brain, this is the path to the good stuff. Let me show you exactly how prediction error shows up in your day. You open messages. Sometimes there's a juicy update, sometimes nothing. That variability keeps you checking. But if you batch messages into 2 predictable windows, you eliminate the uncertainty between windows. Cravings drop because your brain now expects, not now, which kills prediction error. The novelty moves into a container where you can choose to engage rather than react. Another key idea, ramping and recovery. Dopamine ramps up as you get closer to a goal. That ramp is motivating. If your goals are vague, the ramp can't build, so your brain looks for clearer ramps like progress bars and unread counts. When you define a tight definition of done, for a 60-minute block, you create a tangible ramp. Outline 3 slides, draft 300 words, reconcile 2 invoices. The ramp keeps you engaged, and the completion gives a clean spike that doesn't tank baseline. Common mistake time. People try to replace high-stim scrolling with high-stim productivity hacks. Loud music, constant switching between tasks, endless timers. That's still jittery. It can push output for a day, but it burns baseline fast. The better method is low-stim consistency. Fewer cues, longer blocks, clear finish lines, and periodic physical resets. You're smoothing the neurochemical ride so you don't need heroics at 3 p.m. Now, how do you feel a low baseline versus a bad task? Low baseline feels like global heaviness. Every task looks gray, and you seek easy novelty. A bad task feels specific. You avoid one thing but can do others. If everything feels dull, treat the baseline. If one task feels heavy, clarify it, chunk it smaller, or change its reward structure. Accurate diagnosis saves you from the shame spiral. Let me give you a quick practice you can try today. Before your first work block, no feeds and no inbox. Take a 2-minute sunlight exposure at a window or outside, drink water, and write a single-line outcome for the block. That's baseline support plus a clear ramp. After the block, take a micro-reward you actually enjoy, a cup of tea, a short walk, 1 song. Repeat that twice, and notice how your urge to scroll mid-block drops because your system anticipates a clean reward after effort. This next part separates beginners from pros, tracking prediction error manually. Jot down the top 3 cues that trigger a check impulse and rate their surprise factor. Reduce surprise by making their windows predictable, disable badges, and move variable reward apps off your home screen. You're not just removing temptation, you're flattening the prediction error curve so baseline can rise. If you remember nothing else from this section, remember this: dopamine drives pursuit, baseline sets your mood floor, and novelty manipulates both. Protect baseline, schedule novelty, and let progress do the heavy lifting. Now that you get the mechanics, we're going to fix the inputs so your brain stops chasing microhits and starts craving real work again. Audit first, map your triggers and time leaks. Before we change anything, we need a clean map of what's actually hijacking you. Not vibes, evidence. Do a 24-hour trigger map. For 1 full day, note every time your attention flips to your phone or a non-essential tab. Write 3 things each time: when it happened, where you were, and what cue started it. 10:12 a.m. desk stuck on sentence. 1:03 p.m. kitchen notification ping. 9:41 p.m. couch boredom during ad. Keep it simple, but be honest. Now identify your gateway apps. These aren't always the worst offenders, they're the ones that open the door. For many people, it's messages or email, not the social app itself. You go in to just check, then a badge or preview pulls you sideways. List your top 3 gateways and the notification types that get you: DM previews, likes, news alerts, shipping updates. If an alert can spark a variable reward, it's a gateway. Next, pinpoint boredom moments. These are the cracks where your brain reaches for easy novelty. Waiting in line, reheating lunch, bathroom breaks, between meetings, right before bed, first thing after waking, even the 30 seconds while a file loads. Write them down. These are predictable, so they're fixable. We'll plug them with low-stim substitutes later so you don't burn your baseline on filler. Let's talk time fragmentation. Open your calendar and mark every context switch you did yesterday. Each time you moved from meaningful work to a quick check, or from one task to another without a clear finish line, add a small hash. Most people find they switch 30 to 60 times. That's not a character flaw, it's a design flaw in the day. Your trigger map plus your switches shows where attention residue is accumulating. Now define one sacred focus block. This isn't your whole day, it's your daily non-negotiable. Pick a 60 to 120-minute window when your energy is naturally higher, often mid-morning. Set boundaries. No social feeds, no inbox, no messaging unless your job requires real-time support and only one project. Write a simple definition of done for that block, 2 pages drafted, slide outline finished, 5 problem sets solved. Specific beats ambitious. Here's the quick win that pays off immediately. Turn off 80% of your notifications for the next 48 hours. Keep only those that are truly time-sensitive from real people you must respond to, for example, calls from family, texts from your team lead, calendar alerts. Disable badges for everything else. If turning off feels scary, create a safety window. 2 check-in times when you'll manually open apps to scan for anything important. Predictability beats constant scanning. Before we continue, you need to separate device triggers from internal triggers. Device triggers are external, pings, badges, banners, previews. Internal triggers are feelings, boredom, uncertainty, fatigue, anxiety about a task. Mark which category each entry on your map belongs to. Why? Because the fixes are different. External triggers get removed or delayed. Internal triggers get acknowledged and redirected with the 3-minute urge protocol you'll learn later. The thing most people miss is micro-cues. You don't need a ping to get pulled. The mere sight of your phone, the glow of a screen, a red dot in your peripheral vision, those are cues. If your phone sits face up, your brain performs a constant background check for change scan. That scan taxes working memory. Solution: out of sight during focus, face down during casual work, and in another room during deep work. It's boring advice because it works. Let me show you exactly how to audit gateway behavior in practice. Pick one app, say Instagram. For 2 days, don't open it from your home screen. Move it off the first page or into the app library. Each time you feel the urge, jot the cue and the time. Then, only open it during one preset window. Notice 2 things: how often the urge rises without a notification, and how urges lose power when you expect a later check. That's prediction error dropping. Add a boredom buffer list to your Notes app or a sticky note. 3 to 5 low-stim options you'll do instead of scrolling during crack moments. Step outside for 1 minute, refill water, 10 deep breaths, write 1 sentence on your current task, stretch your calves, tidy 3 items. Keep it short and physical. You're not trying to be productive during breaks, you're protecting your baseline. Let's build your sacred block environment. Before the block, clear your desk except for the project materials, water, and a timer. Put your phone in another room or a closed drawer. On your computer, open only the tabs you need and log out of social accounts. If your work is inherently online, whitelist your task-specific sites and enable a blocker for everything else. Set a visual commitment, a sticky that says, 1 block, 1 project, done. Now, calculate your time leaks. Look at yesterday and add up all the unscheduled checks. Most people are shocked to see 45 to 120 minutes evaporated in 30-second bites. That number isn't there to shame you, it's your opportunity. If you recover even half of that with a sacred block and batch checks, you'll feel momentum by the end of the week. Okay, here's a fast test to validate your map. Tomorrow morning, run a 90-minute no-scroll window. No inbox, no feeds, no messages, just your first task with a clear done. After the block, take a micro-reward you enjoy and do a single scheduled check. If your urge to check mid-block drops even a little, your trigger map is already paying off. If it doesn't, your environment still leaks. Tighten the cues. Finally, set your boundaries in writing. 1 sentence each, where your phone lives during deep work when you'll check messages, which apps are off limits until after lunch, and who can bypass do not disturb. Share your sacred block with one person who will root for you. That social contract reduces just this once drift. With the map ready and your first boundaries in place, we'll use the 48-hour reset to let your baseline recover so focus stops feeling like uphill mud. The 48-hour dopamine reset protocol. This is the clean slate that pulls you out of the tolerance trap fast. The goal isn't punishment. It's to lower artificial spikes so your baseline can rebound. 48 hours is short enough to commit, long enough to feel a real shift. We're going to remove the biggest drivers of variable reward hits, replace them with low-stim inputs, stabilize your physiology, and anchor 2 short focus blocks so your brain relearns where the wins happen. Here's the promise. By the end of day 2, most people report calmer cravings, fewer autopilot checks, and easier entry into work. Let me show you exactly how to run it. First, remove the spike sources. For 48 hours, no social feeds and no shorts. That includes TikTok, Reels, Shorts, and infinite scroll timelines. If your job requires a platform, use a whitelist. Scheduled, purpose-only checks with a timer and no feed surfing. Turn off push alerts for everything except true emergencies, calls from selected contacts, and calendar reminders. Disable badges and previews. Autoplay off on every platform you touch. If you can't disable, log out for 2 days so opening requires intent. Now replace with low-stim inputs. Your brain hates a vacuum, so we'll give it quiet, not chaos. Every time you'd normally scroll, swap in one of these. A 3 to 10 minute walk without headphones, 2 minutes of diaphragmatic breathing, a page of paper notes on your current project, or simple chores like tidying a small area. Silence counts. Paper counts. Light movement counts. The idea is to keep your nervous system steady instead of spiky. Stabilize your physiology. Consistency beats hacks here. Keep regular meal times with a protein-forward breakfast to avoid glucose swings that mimic dopamine dips. Prioritize a consistent sleep window. Same bedtime, same wake time, even on the weekend if possible. Get morning light for a couple minutes soon after waking. Hydrate with water visible on your desk and set a gentle cue. Take a sip at each paragraph break or email send. You're smoothing the background so your brain doesn't go hunting for stimulation to wake up. Anchor focus with 2 25-minute low-stim blocks each day. Yes, just 2. 1 in the morning before any inbox or feeds and 1 mid-afternoon. Choose 1 project per block and write a tiny definition of done, outline the intro, reconcile 5 transactions, draft the email skeleton. Timer on, phone in another room, only required tabs open. After each block, take a micro-word you actually enjoy that isn't digital novelty. Tea, stretch, a minute of sunlight, or a short walk. You're pairing effort with clean reward. Let me give you the day 1 flow. Wake up, no feeds. Water, brief light protein. Set your timer and knock out the first 25-minute block with a clear finish line. Micro reward. Do your normal morning tasks, but keep notifications off and badges hidden. When the urge to check hits, notice it, breathe, and swap in a low-stim replacement. Batch your first digital check for messages or logistics into a 10-minute window late morning. No feeds, just utility. Lunch with real food, short walk, no scrolling. Mid-afternoon, run block 2. After work, you can do entertainment but keep it non-feed. A show without autoplay, a book, a hobby. Bedtime, no phone in bed. Day 2 is the same with 1 tweak. Add a boredom buffer list in your Notes app or on a sticky. 5 low-stim substitutes you'll default to during cracks. You'll likely notice the urge intensity dropping and the time to start for your blocks shrinking a bit. That's the baseline inching up. Now, common mistakes. The first is going extreme and cutting every pleasant thing. That backfires. You're not banning joy, you're banning engineered unpredictability for 2 days. Keep small pleasures. Good food, conversation, a playlist without algorithmic discovery, an episode you choose. The second mistake is swapping high-stim productivity for high-stim entertainment, like blasting intense music or multitasking to fill the gap. That's still spiky. Keep the vibe steady. The third mistake is just checking 1 feed after a win. That reopens the pipeline. Protect the container for 48 hours. What if your work is online? Use fences, not fantasies. Before each work session, define the exact sites and tools you need. Enable a blocker that allows only those domains for the session length. If you must message, batch it into 2 short windows. No feed surfing in between. This keeps variable rewards out while allowing real work in. Now the specifics of removing and replacing. delete or offload feed apps temporarily or move them into the app library or a hidden folder with a neutral name. Remove them from your home screen so there's no micro-cue. Disable suggestions and related video panes wherever possible. On desktop, install a simple extension to block recommended feeds on platforms you must use. If you hit a feed by habit, close it immediately, stand up, and do your low-stim substitute. The interruption pattern matters. For sleep, set a hard 60-minute downshift before bed. No feeds, no inbox. Low-stim choices only: stretch, shower, light reading, light chores. Put your charger far from the bed. If your brain begs for novelty, give it predictable novelty. Rewatch a comfort show without autoplay or skim a physical magazine. Predictability lowers prediction error, which lowers spikes. Let me show you a micro-story from a student last month. She was averaging 12 pickups per hour and couldn't start essays. We ran the 48-hour reset with 2 25-minute blocks per day, notifications off, phone in a drawer, and a 5-minute walk anytime the urge spiked. By the end of day 2, pickups dropped to 4 per hour, and she finished a rough draft in her afternoon block. No heroics, just fewer cues and a clean micro-reward after each block. The difference wasn't discipline, it was mapping. What about cravings that feel unbearable? Use the 3-minute urge protocol during the reset. Name the cue, delay 3 minutes, regulate with a few slow breaths or a splash of cold water on wrists or face, then choose your low-stim replacement. Most urges peak and fall within that window. If it's still sticky, leave the room. Physical displacement breaks the loop faster than arguing with yourself. Measure the reset so your brain sees progress. Track 3 metrics: daily pickups, minutes of deep focus, and number of urges you delayed. You don't need perfect numbers, you need direction. If pickups trend down and delayed urges trend up, you're winning. Write one line after each block, what you finished and how starting felt. That line reinforces the new reward mapping. By the end of 48 hours, you should feel less twitchy and more able to start. Don't sprint back to feeds. We'll transition into the daily focus stack so the reset becomes your new default. Keep notifications off by default, keep the morning no scroll, keep 2 focused blocks, and schedule any optional scrolling into small windows. You've steadied the baseline, now we'll build habits that compound it. The daily focus stack, 5 habits that compound. This is where we lock in the reset with a routine your brain can trust. 5 habits, same order every weekday, simple rules, and they compound fast. Think of it as scaffolding for your attention. Low-stim inputs early, deep effort while your baseline is stable, strategic resets, controlled communication, and a clean downshift so tomorrow starts strong. First habit, the morning no-scroll window for the first 60 to 90 minutes. Why it matters. Mornings set the reference point for your dopamine contrast. If you spike early with feeds, everything after feels dull. If you stay low-stim, your first work block becomes the day's most interesting thing. What to do? Before bed, place your phone outside the bedroom or across the room. In the morning, don't open inboxes, feeds, or messages. Water, brief light exposure, protein-forward breakfast if you eat, and a single-line plan for your first block. How to apply? Put a sticky on your desk that says no scroll until after block 1. Common mistake: I'll just check for urgent stuff. Predefine what counts as urgent and batch a 10-minute utility check after your first block. Second habit, 1 deep work block before noon, 90 to 120 minutes. Why it matters. Your cognitive energy and baseline are usually highest mid-morning. If you spend that window on reactive tasks, you pay a heavy opportunity cost. What to do? Pick 1 project, write a tight definition of done, draft 600 words, complete 3 problem sets, design 2 slides, and close everything else. Phone in another room, do not disturb on, whitelist only the sites you need. Timer at 90 minutes if you're new, work up to 120 as your baseline stabilizes. How to apply? Create a ritual cue that starts the block, a specific playlist without algorithmic discovery, a cup of tea, a 2-minute breath. End with an immediate micro-reward you actually enjoy. Sunlight on your face, a stretch, a walk around the block. Common mistake: stacking multiple projects inside 1 block. Keep 1 context to avoid residue. Third habit, a midday state reset, sunlight and a 10-minute walk. Why it matters. After a deep block, your brain benefits from a physical reset to clear metabolites and restore alertness without spiking stimulation. What to do? Step outside if possible. If not, stand at a bright window and walk an indoor loop. No headphones unless you choose a predictable, non-discovery track. Use nasal breathing or a gentle cadence to avoid an adrenaline surge. How to apply? Tie it to lunch or your calendar. Alarm labeled reset, not scroll. Common mistake: turning the walk into a podcast binge full of novelty. Keep it simple so the reset restores your baseline instead of draining it. Fourth habit: afternoon task batching for email and messages in 2 windows. Why it matters: variable rewards in communication keep prediction error high all day. Batching collapses 1,000 microurges into 2 predictable containers. What to do? Pick 2 15 to 30-minute windows, one early afternoon, one late afternoon. During each, process messages to a clear definition of done, respond, defer, file, or create a task. Outside those windows, apps are closed, badges are off, and senders who truly need you know your availability window. How to apply? Write a simple status line in your bio or autoresponder. Message windows 1:30 and 4:30. Use VIP filters for exceptions so urgent people get through without giving every app a pass. Common mistake: leaving inboxes open just in case. Close them. Predictability kills prediction error. Fifth habit: an evening downshift, 60 minutes of low-stim wind down. Why it matters: your sleep and next day baseline depend on how you land the plane. High-stim nights sabotage mornings. What to do? Choose a downshift start time and set a repeating reminder. In that hour, no feeds, no inbox, no autoplay. Pick calming, predictable activities: stretch, shower, light chores, journaling, a book, or a show you deliberately select. Put your charger across the room or in another room. How to apply? Create a tiny ritual you look forward to: a certain tea, a specific lamp, a cozy corner. If you share a space, invite someone into the ritual so it becomes social and sticky. Common mistake: just one video that becomes an algorithm cascade. Choose content up front and end it manually. Now let me show you how these 5 stack together. You wake with no scroll. Your baseline stays steady. You enter your deep block while your brain is fresh. You finish, take a clean micro-reward, then reset with sunlight and a walk. You handle communications in a single, focused window instead of pinging all day, keeping prediction error low. You finish the day with a downshift that protects sleep and sets up tomorrow's baseline. Each habit supports the next. Remove one, and the system wobbles. Keep them together, and you get compounding returns. Okay, you might be thinking, what if my mornings are chaos? Then shrink, don't skip. Make your no-scroll 30 minutes for now and guard a 60-minute deep block mid-morning. If you can't do sunlight outside, do light at a window and a hallway walk. If you can't do 2 message windows, do 1 and a 5-minute quick scan later. Progress beats perfection. Here's the shortcut nobody teaches: pre-commit with friction. The night before, set your devices into a focus mode scheduled from wake to noon with only critical contacts allowed. Move social apps off your home screen. Pre-open the dock you'll work on and leave it full screen. Lay out your walk shoes by the door. Put a sticky on your monitor. Start timer before touching inbox. You're making the right action the easy action. Common mistakes to avoid: stacking meetings on your deep work window, using your afternoon batch window as a catch-all, and turning the downshift into another productivity project. Keep meetings away from the morning block whenever you can. Keep batch windows small, focused, and closed outside those times. Keep the downshift genuinely relaxing. If you're tempted to optimize it, you're probably sneaking stimulation back in. A quick win you can get today: run a 90-minute no-scroll morning, do 1 90-minute deep block with a single definition of done, take a 10-minute walk, and handle messages in 1 20-minute window. Tonight, downshift for 45 minutes without feeds. That's the minimum viable stack. If you do that 3 days in a row, your urge frequency drops, your start friction drops, and your trust in yourself climbs. That trust is the real reward. If you remember nothing else, remember this: sequence matters. Low stim first, deep work early, movement to reset, messages in containers, and a clean downshift. Do that, and your baseline stays high enough that focus stops feeling like a fight and starts feeling like you're normal. Craving control, the 3-minute urge protocol. Cravings don't start as full sentences, they start as tiny impulses. The 3-minute urge protocol turns that impulse into a win you can repeat anywhere. Here's the idea: name the cue, delay for 3 minutes, regulate your state, move your body, earn a micro-reward, then re-enter your task with 1 clear step. Friction beats craving, and 3 minutes is long enough for the wave to crest and fall. Start with naming the cue. The moment you feel your hand drift or your eyes flick to the corner of the screen, say it quietly or in your head. Cue boredom, cue stuck, cue notification memory. Labeling moves you from impulse to observation, which already lowers urgency. Don't debate it, just tag it. Now delay by 3 minutes. Look at a clock and commit. In 3 minutes, I can check. You're not saying never, which triggers rebellion. You're saying later, which your brain accepts. During those 3 minutes, you'll run a simple state shift so the urge loses fuel. The timer matters. If you guess, you'll cheat. Use a watch, a small timer, or a browser countdown. Here's the state shift. Do 1 minute of box breathing. Inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4, hold for 4. This calms your autonomic arousal without making you sleepy. Then, if you can, do a 10-second cold splash on wrists or face. Cold gives a clean jolt that doesn't spin up novelty-seeking. No sink nearby, rub your hands briskly or squeeze a cold bottle. The point is a quick, physical interrupt. Next, physically displace yourself. Stand up, leave the room, or at least step away from your chair. Walk to a doorway, touch the frame, turn around, and come back. If you're at work, walk the hallway. If you're in a library, stand and stretch your calves. Movement breaks state faster than mental bargaining. It also snaps the association between your chair and scrolling. Now earn a substitute micro-reward. Do 10 push-ups or 15 squats. If that's not accessible, do a 30-second wall sit or 10 slow heel raises. Feel your muscles engage. This gives your brain a small, honest dopamine bump tied to effort, not novelty. It also signals, we choose action when we crave. That rescripts the habit loop in your favor. With 30 to 60 seconds left, decide your one next step on the current task. Not finish the chapter, just write the rough first sentence, title the slide, or solve problem 1. Write it on paper or type it as a stub. Make it so small you can start before your brain reopens negotiations. This is the on-ramp back into focus. When the timer hits 3 minutes, check in with yourself. Rate the urge from 1 to 10. Most of the time, it's dropped by half. If it's now a 3 or less, go straight into the one next step. If it's still a 7, you can run one more 3-minute cycle or choose a pre-scheduled check if you're inside a communication window. The rule is simple. Never check off schedule without at least one completed 3-minute cycle. Now here's where most people mess up. They wait too long to intervene. The protocol starts at the first micro cue, not after you've opened the app. The earlier you label, the cheaper the win. The second mistake is doing the breathing but staying seated with the phone in reach. That's like meditating next to cake. Put the phone out of reach during the 3 minutes. The third mistake is turning the protocol into punishment. Keep it short, neutral, repeatable. Let me show you exactly how it plays out. You're writing, you hit friction, your hand twitches toward the phone. You whisper, cue, stuck. Start a 3-minute timer. 1 minute box breathing. Quick cold splash. Stand, touch the doorframe, 2 deep breaths, 15 squats, back at the desk. Write ugly first sentence about benefit X timer beeps. Urge now feels like a 3, you start the sentence. 30 seconds later, you're in. 2 minutes after that, you don't remember the urge. If you're in a meeting or a place where movement isn't possible, scale it down. Mini protocol. Eyes closed, 2 cycles of box breathing, press your thumb and forefinger together for 10 seconds, silently label the cue, then write your one next step on a sticky or in a notes app. At the 3-minute mark, take a sip of water and start. You've still shifted state and created friction. What about intense urges like late-night doomscroll pulls? Double up the delay to 6 minutes in 2 rounds. Round 1, breathing and cold. Round 2, walk to the charger in the other room, plug the phone in, and start your downshift ritual. Add a barrier sentence on a sticky by your bed. Not now. Morning me will decide. You're giving future you the control when baseline is higher. Keep a tiny urge log for a week. 5 columns: time, cue, urge rating before, what you did, urge rating after. You'll see patterns. Maybe boredom spikes at 2:30 p.m. or anxiety spikes at 9:45 p.m. Use that data to preempt with a walk, a protein snack, or moving your charger. Data beats drama. Here's the shortcut nobody teaches. Pair the protocol with a micro-win token. After you run it and re-enter, make a small tally mark on a card. 5 tallies earn you a pre-scheduled treat, tea you love, a short playlist, a quick chat with a friend, outside focus blocks. You're training your brain that writing cravings leads to rewards you actually like, not algorithm crumbs. Common mistakes to avoid. adding phone-based rewards after the protocol, using the timer on the phone you're trying not to touch, and choosing a one next step that's vague. Keep rewards non-digital. Use a kitchen timer, watch, or desktop countdown. Make the next step binary. You either did it or didn't. If you feel stuck choosing a next step, default to write one ugly sentence or list 3 bullets. If you remember nothing else, remember this: urges are waves. Label the wave, let it crest, change your state, earn a tiny win, and step back onto your task. 3 minutes repeated rewires the loop. Environment design. Make focus the default. If the loop runs on cues and rewards, the smartest move is to redesign the stage where your attention performs. We're going to make focus the default by stripping variable reward cues from your field of view, adding friction to distractions, and pulling useful tools closer than temptations. Think of this as renovating a kitchen. Knives in reach, candy on a high shelf. Start with a home screen detox. Blank your first page or keep only utilities with 0 variable rewards, clock, calendar, camera, maps. Remove red badges entirely. Those red dots aren't neutral, they hijack salience. Put every feed or discovery app off the home screen, ideally into the app library or a buried folder with a boring name. If an app needs to stay, disable previews and badges so you don't get microspikes on unlock. Now build app fences. Delete or offload apps that exist primarily to deliver infinite novelty. If deletion feels too much, offload them so tapping triggers a loading wall that gives you a chance to stop. Move all entertainment apps to the last page, bottom row. Add a neutral wallpaper to reduce scanning. The thing most people miss is micro cues, colors, motion, numbers, so keep visuals quiet. Your lock screen should show time and calendar, not a news carousel. Lockouts come next. Schedule focus or do not disturb during your deep work windows. Allow only critical contacts and calendar alerts to bypass. Set app limits for feeds and shopping, not as moral tests but as speed bumps. A 2-step override kills 50% of reflex checks because friction beats craving. If your work is online, create a work focus that blocks social and opens only whitelisted tools. Tie it to your calendar so it flips on automatically. Add physical friction. During deep work, put your phone in another room or inside a bag behind you. Distance matters. If that's impossible, at least store it face down, on silent, and outside your arm's reach. Use a cheap lockbox with a timer if you love gadgets. Use a drawer if you don't. On desktop, full screen your work app to reduce peripheral cues. Hide the dock or taskbar. The less your eyes see, the less your brain samples. Tools near, distractions far. Keep a notebook open, a pen, water, and a simple timer within reach. If you stand up to get water, you'll often check something on the way, so put water at your desk. Preload the dock you'll work on and close everything else. If you need references, pin the exact tabs. Don't keep the whole internet open and hope for restraint. You're compressing the distance between intention and action. Let's set up app-level fences that auto-run. Turn off autoplay everywhere: YouTube, Netflix, social feeds. Disable recommended columns with a browser extension. Hide For You tabs where possible. Default to following or subscriptions, which are less variable. Remove breaking news widgets from your lock screen. If a platform insists on surfacing recommendations, use a reader or email digests to pull content on your schedule. A social contract makes this stick. Tell one person your daily focus window and your communication windows. This reduces anxiety that you'll miss something. If people expect replies at 1:30 and 4:30, you can ignore pings outside those times without guilt. Post a lightweight status. Heads down 9:11:30, replies after. You're designing expectations, not just your screen. Environment design isn't just digital. Design your work zone for a single context. If your desk is covered with multiple projects, your mind will context switch on site. Clear everything not related to the current block. Use a tray or stack for each project and only place the active one on the desk. Visual clarity lowers cognitive load, which lowers the drive to seek novelty. Now the home screen detox in practice. Step 1, drag every app off page 1 except utilities. Step 2, long press and disable badges for all remaining apps. Step 3, move discovery apps into the app library so they require a swipe and a search. Step 4, set a plain wallpaper, solid color or subtle gradient. Step 5, add a single shortcut widget to your current project dock so one tap starts work. You're replacing open dopamine with open progress. Here's the shortcut nobody teaches. Bind your charger location to your behavior. At your desk, charger equals face down out of reach. In the living room, charger equals across the room. In the bedroom, charger equals outside the bedroom entirely. Your brain learns that plugging in means end of access. That physical cue ends doom scroll sessions more reliably than willpower, especially at night. What about shared spaces or jobs that require constant messaging? Use layered fences. On your main device, enable focus modes that filter by app and contact. On your computer, install a site blocker with profiles. Work only, research, admin. During deep work, work only. During admin, research. During breaks, nothing. If you need a messaging app open, use a compact window and place it on a secondary display you can physically angle away during blocks. Visibility equals temptation. Add intentional friction to re-entry. If you do allow a short entertainment window, require a micro-task first. 3 lines in your done list, 1 paragraph proofread, or a quick file rename task. This tiny effort toll keeps the reward mapping honest. Effort first, then treat. If the entertainment requires prepping a device, even better. The prep step often cancels weak urges. Let me show you a simple desk layout that cuts residue. Left side, notebook open to today's plan, pen on top. Center, laptop full screen on the active dock. Right side, water bottle, timer, sticky with your definition of done. Behind the laptop, nothing. No stack of books, no mail. Under the desk, charger cable rooted away from your legs. In a drawer, noise-blocking earbuds for when you need them, not as default stimulation. Common mistakes: replacing feeds with different high-novelty inputs like rapid playlist hopping, leaving previews on just in case, and keeping messaging apps visible during deep work. Keep music predictable, lo-fi, instrumentals, or a playlist you already know. Previews off means fewer prediction errors. Messaging out of sight means fewer phantom checks. To test if your environment actually works, run a 60-minute block and tally every urge to check. Then make one change, phone in another room, badges off, or full screen, and run the same block tomorrow. If urges drop by even 2 or 3, your design is working. Iterate weekly. Small environmental tweaks compound faster than motivational speeches. Finally, tie environment to identity. Put a small card on your desk. I protect my attention. Each clean block earns a check mark. By the end of the week, your desk tells a story your brain believes. You're not fighting temptation, you're living in a space built for the work you care about. That's how focus becomes the default rather than the exception. Reward engineering. Make real work feel rewarding. If the loop trained your brain that feeds equal fun and work equals flat, we're going to flip that mapping on purpose. Reward engineering means you attach small, predictable payoffs to real effort so your brain learns. Focus leads to the good stuff. The mistake most people make is delaying all rewards until huge milestones. That's too far away to shape behavior today. We'll build immediate micro-rewards, visible progress, intentional novelty, and tight ties between outcomes and treats. Start with immediate micro-rewards after deep work. The why, your brain reinforces whatever happens right after effort. If the first thing post-block is a scroll hit, you reward distraction. Instead, pick a non-digital micro-reward you genuinely enjoy. A favorite tea, stepping into sunlight for 1 minute, a slow stretch, or a short walk to the window. Keep it consistent so your brain anticipates a clean, calming payoff. Make it sensory, not algorithmic, so it doesn't spike prediction error. 2 to 3 minutes is enough. Now layer visible progress. The thing most people miss is that progress you can see produces dopamine as reliably as novelty, but without the crash. Use a daily done list, not tasks you plan, tasks you completed. Write them down right after each block. Add a streak tracker for your sacred block and your daily focus stack. Every check mark is a vote for your identity and a small reward your brain recognizes. If streak anxiety trips you up, track weekly reps instead of unbroken days. Consistency over drama. Tie rewards to outcomes, not random pings. Decide ahead of time. When I complete my deep block and log it, I get X. X can be a specific snack, a short playlist you love, 10 minutes with a hobby, or a planned call with a friend outside focus windows. The pairing matters. If you habitually give yourself treats without effort first, your brain learns the wrong lesson. Keep the sequence sacred. Effort, log, micro-reward. If you break the order, pause, reset, and protect it next time. Introduce a weekly dopamine day. You're not a monk, you need novelty. Make it intentional. One day each week, schedule a block of exploration that isn't algorithm-driven. A new cafe to write in, a different walking route, a class, a recipe, a museum hour, a craft, a sport, a new playlist you curate once and then reuse. The reason this works is you get the refresh without wiring yourself back to variable reward feeds. Put it on the calendar so your brain expects novelty on a cadence, not constantly. Use reflective priming before sessions. 60 seconds is enough. Write a tiny pre-commit note. Today's block earns me a calm evening and 1 cup of jasmine tea. Or, if I finish slides 2-4, I'll feel lighter heading into Friday. You're reminding your brain why the work itself produces future rewards you actually care about, less anxiety, momentum, done lists that feel solid. Priming turns abstract values into immediate incentives. Make progress painfully visible. Create a simple scoreboard. 3 rows, deep block reps this week, minutes of distraction you delayed with the 3-minute protocol, and streak days you completed your daily focus stack. Stick it on your wall or keep it as the first page in your notebook. Each tally is a micro-reward. If you like visuals, use small colored dots. If you hate visuals, use a single number you update daily. Simplicity keeps it sticky. Engineer the ramp inside work itself. Tasks feel rewarding when they have mini finish lines. Break blocks into micro goals with closure. Outline headers, write 200 words, solve 1 problem, debug 1 function. Each micro goal gets a micro check on your page. That trick gives you a steady dopamine ramp during the block and a clean spike at completion without needing to tab out. The reason this works is your brain loves progress indicators. You're building your own. Now here's where most people mess up. They schedule rewards that secretly contain variable rewards, like 10 minutes of YouTube. That backfires. Even if you limit time, the unpredictability resets cravings. Keep rewards predictable, chosen in advance, and finite. If you want media, pick a single saved video or a downloaded podcast episode with autoplay off. Better yet, keep post-block rewards offline and sensory so they can't escalate. Build a treat menu you actually look forward to. 5 items you pre-approve. A specific tea, a walk to a sunny spot, a hand cream ritual, 5 minutes of guitar, watering plants, a favorite snack portioned in a small bowl, a short dance break to a known song. Put the menu by your timer. After a block, pick one. The predictability keeps cravings low, the choice keeps it fun. Use reward bundling for tasks you dread. Pair the task with a stable treat only during that task. A certain candle you light only when editing, a playlist reserved for spreadsheet work, a comfy hoodie that signals writing mode. The exclusivity is the point. If the treat shows up anywhere, it loses power. Scarcity drives salience. Add a post-block brag to your routine. Send a single-sentence update to a focus buddy or drop it in a private note. Block done, drafted intro and mapped 3 bullets. Social recognition releases a small, clean dopamine hit and reinforces identity. Keep it low drama and factual so it doesn't become another variable reward loop. If social isn't your thing, write the brag in a log you read every Friday. Reviewing wins is a reward in itself. Protect the reward window from drift. If you finish a block and immediately open messages, you'll end up in reactive mode. Take the micro reward first, then do your batch communication window. The order protects your mapping. If an urgent ping arrives, treat it as a separate block with its own definition of done, then still take a tiny reward. 1 breath at the window counts. Finally, install a Friday payoff ritual. Review your scoreboard, circle 3 real outcomes you achieved, and pick 1 bigger reward for the weekend that's aligned with your goals. A day trip, a brunch, a workshop, a spa evening, a long hike. You're teaching your brain that the life you want grows from focused effort, not from endless novelty. That feeling is the most sustainable dopamine source you can build. Energy and state, the physiology that powers focus. You've built the system, now let's power it with physiology so it runs smoothly without you forcing it. The thing most people miss is your brain's chemistry rides on your body's rhythms. If those rhythms are chaotic, focus feels expensive. When rhythms are steady, focus feels normal. So we'll dial in sleep consistency, nutrition timing, movement, caffeine, hydration, and posture cues, small levers that lift your baseline without spikes. Start with sleep schedule consistency. Not perfect hours, consistent anchors. Pick a 90-minute window for bedtime and a fixed wake time you can keep 7 days a week. Why it matters? Your circadian system sets alertness and dopamine tone based on regularity. If you drift by hours on weekends, Monday feels like jet lag. Keep your wake time steady, and your baseline stabilizes even when total sleep varies. Practical move: set a nightly downshift alarm 60 minutes before bed. Dim lights, no feeds, predictable activities. In the morning, get a dose of light, outside if you can, at a bright window if you can't. Light anchors the clock, which anchors energy. Now nutrition timing. A protein-forward breakfast steadies glucose and curbs the mid-morning crash that masquerades as no motivation. Aim for 25 to 35 grams of protein early if you eat breakfast. If you fast, make your first meal balanced and avoid a sugar bomb. The reason this works is simple. Stable glucose reduces jittery highs and lows that push you toward novelty seeking. Pre-plan 2 simple breakfasts you can rotate: eggs and fruit, yogurt and nuts, tofu scramble, or a smoothie with protein. Keep it boring and predictable. You want energy, not entertainment. Movement is your non-negotiable. Daily 20 to 30 minutes and morning light movement if possible. Think brisk walk, mobility, easy cardio, or strength circuits. Movement increases alertness without frying your baseline, clears mental fog, and resets stress chemistry. Keep it separate from your deep work warm-up. A short walk before block 1 is a state set, not a workout. If your day's packed, split movement: 10 minutes after breakfast, 10 at lunch, 10 in late afternoon. Consistency beats intensity. Let's talk caffeine. Delay the first hit for 90 minutes after waking to let your natural wake hormones rise. Start too early and you'll chase jitters, then crash. Set a hard stop by early afternoon, roughly 8 to 10 hours before bedtime, to protect sleep pressure. If you need a pick-me-up later, use decaf or a small green tea. Pair caffeine with a meal or at least some protein to avoid spikes. And don't stack caffeine with high novelty. That combo trains you to seek chaos. Hydration and posture cues sound small, they're not. Dehydration makes everything feel harder. Keep water visible at your desk and link sips to tiny events. Each paragraph, each email send, each page. That pairing keeps hydration automatic. Posture is a state lever. Upright posture with feet grounded increases alertness. Slouching signals low energy and invites scrolling. Add 2 posture checks to your deep block. At the 30-minute and 60-minute marks, roll shoulders, lengthen your spine, and take a slow exhale. It's a micro reset that reduces the urge to escape. Now, how do we put this together inside your day? Morning flow. Wake at your consistent time, light exposure within 30 minutes, water and a simple state warm-up, 2 minutes of mobility or a short walk. Delay caffeine. Eat a protein-forward breakfast if you eat, or wait until your set window. Start block 1 while your baseline is steady and your body's awake. After the block, micro-reward, then your first caffeine if you use it. You've now paired the day's first meaningful spike with progress, not scrolling. Midday is where energy wobbles. Use a 10-minute sunlight and walk reset, then eat a balanced meal: protein, fiber, and some healthy fat. Avoid the huge carb bomb that crashes you at 2. If you're prone to afternoon slumps, add a light second movement burst, 5 minutes of stairs, a short mobility sequence, or a brisk loop. Keep caffeine cutoff in mind. If you hit a lull, try water, posture reset, a 2-minute breath, then re-enter with a small on-ramp task. Evening is for downshifting. Keep the 60-minute low-stim ritual. Lights lower, screens off, or set to non-feed content you select intentionally: warm shower, stretch, journaling, or light chores. Cut late caffeine and heavy meals close to bed. Put your charger outside the bedroom or across the room. If you wake in the night, avoid bright screens, use a dim lamp, slow breaths, and a boring page of a physical book if needed. You're protecting your baseline for tomorrow. Let me show you a week-long energy tweak that compounds. Pick 1 anchor per category: wake time, first light, first caffeine time, movement window, caffeine cutoff, downshift start. Write them on a sticky and keep a simple checkbox log. Don't chase perfection. Keep the anchors even on weekends. After a week, your morning feels easier, the afternoon wobble smooths, and your deep block starts faster because your body expects it. Common mistakes: 1. Using workouts as a dopamine blaster right before deep work, hit then attempt to write. That spike can make focused calm hard. Keep intense workouts away from your main block or add a 20-minute cool down and a meal before sitting to work. 2. Caffeinating to cover sleep debt. It masks the problem and worsens it at night. Prioritize the downshift instead. 3. Using movement as a procrastination loop, endless prep instead of starting. Cap warm-ups and start the block. If you're peri or premenstrual, map your cycle to your energy plan. Many women feel lower energy and higher distractibility in late luteal days. Respond by shrinking the ambition of blocks: 60 to 90 minutes, clearer micro goals, extra sunlight, more protein, and earlier caffeine cutoff. In higher energy phases, stretch deep blocks and push heavier lifts. You're matching physiology, not fighting it. Travel or shift work. Keep 2 anchors: wake time relative to local morning light and your downshift ritual before sleep, even if the clock changes. Use light exposure to shift gently, morning light to move your clock earlier, evening light minimized to avoid delaying. Keep caffeine rules and movement even tighter when your schedule's messy. Anchors are your stability. Here's a fast protocol for brutal days. Sleep was short, stress is high. Morning, water, light, 2 minutes of movement, delay caffeine 60 minutes if you can. Eat protein early. Keep block 1 at 60 minutes with a very clear done. Midday, sunlight and walk, small lunch, no scroll. Afternoon, no high-stim music, a cup of tea if needed, and a 45-minute admin block. Evening, hard downshift, screens off, aim for an earlier bedtime. You're managing state, not chasing heroics. The reason this works is boring but powerful. Your body loves predictability. When your sleep, food, light, and movement follow a rhythm, your nervous system stops hunting for stimulation to feel awake. That frees your attention for the work you choose. If you remember nothing else, remember this: protect your rhythm, and your focus protects itself. Once your physiology is steady, scaling deep work becomes safer and easier. Advanced, scaling deep work without burnout. You've got the system humming, so let's scale output without frying your baseline. The game changer nobody talks about is cadence. Instead of trying to crush every day, use a 3-on-1 off deep work rhythm. 3 consecutive days where you run your full daily focus stack with 1 long deep block before noon, then a lighter admin-focused day that still keeps your habits but reduces cognitive load. The off day isn't a 0 day. It's an integration day where you protect the morning no scroll, do a shorter 60-minute focus block, batch maintenance tasks, and review. This keeps momentum while preventing depletion. Once you nail cadence, project chunking becomes your leverage. Before each deep block, write a definition of done that's specific, observable, and sized to the block. But zoom 1 level up. Chunk the whole project into milestones that each fit inside 1 to 3 blocks. For a report, milestone 1 might be research notes, milestone 2, outline, milestone 3, ugly draft, milestone 4, revision pass. Each milestone has its own definition of done. This lets you finish inside daily containers and avoid amorphous goals that leak into the evening. Context depth is the next multiplier. 1 project per block is non-negotiable, but scaling means fewer simultaneous projects per week. Assign themes to days or half-days. For example, moan 2 mornings are writing, wed morning is design, third morning is strategy. That way, your brain builds and preserves specialized context over back-to-back blocks. You'll notice startup friction drop because yesterday's mental model is still warm. The reason this works is attention, residue, travels within a domain more cleanly than across domains. Now build a weekly review loop that actually changes behavior. Every week on your integration day, spend 30 minutes on 3 questions. What triggered leaks? Where did cadence break? What produced outsized results? Then 1 action per category, remove 1 cue, reinforce 1 boundary, and amplify 1 winning pattern. Look at your scoreboard, deep block reps, delayed urges, and stack completion, and annotate with 2 sentences. What helped? And what I'll test next. Reviews become your anti-burnout thermostat. Add complexity only after 2 clean weeks of consistency. That means you completed at least 4 deep blocks per week, kept the morning no scroll 5 days, batched messages, and did the evening downshift most nights. If you hit that, now you can stretch. Extend a deep block by 15 minutes, add a second shorter deep block on 2 days, or raise the ambition of your definition of done. If you can't hold the base, don't stack. Stability beats intensity. Here's a simple scaling ladder. Level 1, 1 90-minute deep block 5 days a week. Level 2, add a 45-minute afternoon focus block 2 days a week for a single project. Level 3, extend the morning block to 120 minutes twice a week. Level 4, add a second domain day, like writing moan 2 and design thir, keeping wed as integration. At each level, keep the 3-on-1 off cadence. If your energy dips, step down 1 rung for a week. That's not failure, that's periodization. Let's talk load management using red, yellow, and green days. Label mornings by how you feel within the first 30 minutes: sleep quality, body heaviness, mental clarity. Green, go for full-length deep work and ambitious definition of done. Yellow, keep the block but reduce scope by 20 to 30% and guard environment tighter. Red, protect the ritual, run a 45-60-minute block with a tiny goal, then switch to admin and recovery. This avoids the all-or-nothing crash that leads to binges later. Protect energy with preload and offload rituals around deep blocks. Preload is a 2-minute ramp. Open only the doc, write the micro outline, start the timer. Offload is a 2-minute brain dump at the end. List what you solved, what's unresolved, and the first next step for tomorrow. That offload preserves context so tomorrow's start is faster, which lowers strain across the week. If your work volume is rising, add collaboration boundaries that respect deep work. Share your heads-down windows on your calendar. Propose office hours for questions. Batch meetings on the same days you're already light, often the integration day and one afternoon. Keep meetings away from your deep block mornings. When a meeting must land in a focus window, swap a lighter day for the next one to preserve your 3-on-1-off rhythm. Use focus sprints for high-stakes phases, 2 weeks where you run 3-on-1-off with an extra 45-minute afternoon block, 4 days total. Put novelty on pause except your weekly dopamine day. Increase recovery, longer evening downshifts, more protein, and extra light walks. At the end, schedule a low-load week. Maintain habits, shorten blocks, and do maintenance tasks. Sprint, then deliberate recovery. Burnout happens when every week is a sprint with no deload. Your environment should scale with you. For multi-block days, stack supplies, extra water, plan snacks, and preloaded docs for block 2. Use app profiles. Work deep for the morning, work admin for the afternoon. This reduces the cognitive cost of switching. If you shift locations midday, treat the move as a reset, walk, sunlight, short breath work, so you don't carry residue into the second block. Track capacity using time to start and urge frequency. If time to start stretches and urges spike, your baseline is slipping or your load's too high. Respond by returning to the minimum viable stack for 3 days. No scroll mornings, single 90-minute block, batch messages once, strict downshift. Once these stabilize, climb back 1 rung. Scaling is adding weight gradually, not maxing out every session. Microstory. A client doubled her deliverables by moving from random deep work to a 3-on-1-off cadence, writing moan, 2 mornings, design wed, integration thir, and meetings fry afternoon only. She chunked each report into 4 milestones mapped to 4 morning blocks and stopped switching projects mid-block. In 8 weeks, she increased deep work hours by 60% and felt less exhausted because her off day cleared residue instead of pretending to be a hustle day. Advanced mistake, chasing extra novelty to reward bigger output, new playlists daily, new tools weekly. That reintroduces prediction error and jitters. Keep the rituals boring and the work interesting. Another trap, stacking multiple high cognitive projects in one day. Split them across mornings. Afternoons are for admin, review, and collaboration, not for switching into another deep domain. Install a weekly constraints check. Ask, is each block bound by a single goal, a single app, and a single definition of done? Are meetings corralled? Are rewards predictable? Are you respecting the cadence? Tight constraints reduce friction and paradoxically expand output. When you know exactly what the block is for, your brain can go all in. Finally, scale identity with output. After each week, note 1 identity proof. I'm someone who protects my attention and ships. Attach that to a visible artifact, a page printed, a slide deck finalized, a feature shipped. Scaling isn't louder, it's cleaner. Keep your cadence, chunk work into blocks that close, deepen context, review weekly, and only add complexity after 2 consistent weeks. That's how you grow capacity without burning the baseline you worked so hard to restore. Troubleshooting, fix the top 5 failure modes. Let's fix the 5 patterns that break momentum, fast. Failure 1, the all-or-nothing crash. You miss a morning, the stack wobbles, and your brain says, start over Monday. That's the shame spiral. Better method, the single clean block reset. Today, run one 45-60-minute block with a tiny definition of done, a micro reward, and a short walk. Log it. That 1 rep breaks the I blew it story. Tomorrow, return to the minimum viable stack. No scroll morning, 1 deep block, 1 message window, downshift. Never miss twice is your rule. 1 messy day doesn't erase your identity. Skipping the reset does. Failure 2, nighttime doom scroll. You're tired, defenses are down, and the bed turns into a casino. Solve it with a wind-down ritual plus distance. 1 hour before sleep, start the downshift. Lights dim, shower or stretch, and a predictable wind-down activity. Move the charger outside the bedroom or across the room. Set a bed barrier, a note by your pillow that says, "Not now, morning me decides." If you must use a device, choose one pre-downloaded show or a physical book. Autoplay and feeds stay off. If urges hit, run a 6-minute, 2-round urge protocol. Round 1, breathing and cold. Round 2, plug the phone in away from bed and return to the downshift. Failure 3, social pressure and boundary guilt. Friends, coworkers, or family expect instant replies. Scripts make this painless. Try heads down 9:11:30 replies after 1:30 if it's urgent, call, or on a deadline this morning, we'll circle back after lunch. For close friends, I'm doing a focus sprint this week. I'll check messages at 4:30. Tell one ally at work and one at home. Add a status line to your messaging app. Message windows 1:30 and 4:30. You're not ghosting, you're predictable. People adjust quickly when they know when to expect you. VIP filters handle exceptions without reopening the floodgates. Failure 4, work that's inherently online. Research, dashboards, collaborative docs, everything lives in a browser. Use the whitelist method. Before you start, list exact sites and tools for this block. Enable a blocker profile that allows only those domains. Hide the doc taskbar and full screen the active app. If you need to hop to a reference, pin it before starting or use a separate browser profile for research that still blocks feeds. Batch all quick checks into a 5-minute window at the block's midpoint if truly required. Outside that micro window, you don't browse. The rule is a single project, single app, or stack a single definition of done. Failure 5, plateaued motivation. The system's stable, but output feels stale. This often means novelty starvation inside your constraints or goals that are too fuzzy to produce a dopamine ramp. Use novelty sprints inside guardrails. For 1 week, keep the daily focus stack, but add one twist. New location for block 1, a different tool for outlining, or a micro challenge like 300 words in 25 minutes for the first workbout. Keep novelty predictable and scheduled, no algorithmic discovery. Also tighten the ramp. Define sharper done for each block and add mid-block micro checkpoints. Your brain needs progress indicators to stay engaged. Now, 2 cross-cutting fixes that amplify everything. First, friction audit for leaks. Do a 60-minute block and tally each urge to check. Then apply 1 friction layer and retest tomorrow. Phone in another room, badges off, focus mode scheduled, or app offloaded. Keep iterating until urges drop by at least 30%. Small frictions compound. If an override is too easy, add a passcode or require a second device to approve. You're not proving willpower, you're designing wins. Second, definition of done calibration. Blocks collapse when goals are vague or oversized. A good definition is observable and fits the time. Outline intro and 3 bullets. Reconcile 20 transactions. Draft slides 2-4 with placeholder visuals. If you repeatedly miss, shrink by 30% and add 1 mid-block checkpoint. If you repeatedly finish early, stretch scope by 10-15% or add a second micro goal. The right difficulty keeps the dopamine ramp smooth. Let me show you how this plays out on a rough week. Monday starts late, you skip the morning block. Instead of surrendering, you run a 60-minute reset block at 2 p.m., then do 1 message batch and a clean downshift. Tuesday, you reinstate no scroll and anchor the deep block. Wednesday, your team needs real-time replies. You post your windows, open a compact messaging view on a secondary display, and keep your deep block sacred. Thursday, motivation dips. You move block 1 to a cafe you pre-selected, run a 25-minute fast start, and set a tiny definition of done, 200 ugly words. Friday night, doom scroll tries to creep in. You start your downshift early, charger in the kitchen, a pre-picked episode, and your bed barrier note. The week closes with 4 deep blocks done, 2 urges delayed per day, and sleep protected. Common mistake, stacking fixes all at once and burning out. Pick 1 failure mode and 1 intervention for 3 days, then layer the next. Another mistake, using emergencies as a loophole. Define an emergency upfront, phone call from designated contacts, not a badge or a buzz. 1 more, treating a slip as identity evidence. It's not. Identity is votes over time. Cast the next vote with the single clean block reset. If you remember nothing else, remember this: every failure mode has a small, boring countermove. Reset with one clean block. Put the charger far, use scripts, whitelist the web, inject scheduled novelty inside constraints. Calibrate done. When the system wobbles, you don't start over, you tighten, reset, and keep moving. Identity shift. Become a person who focuses. Tools matter, but identity locks them in. The fastest way to keep your daily focus stack without constant effort is to become the kind of person who protects attention. That starts with a sentence you can repeat until it feels true. I'm someone who protects my attention. Say it every morning when you sit down and every time you finish a block. You're reminding your brain which behaviors belong to you now. Now turn that identity into tiny, automatic moves with implementation intentions. If X cue, then Y action. Keep them specific, visible, and dumb simple so you don't overthink. If my hand reaches for the phone mid-block, then I start the 3-minute urge protocol. If I open my laptop before noon, then I launch my deep work doc full screen. If I feel bored in a line, then I read my boredom buffer list and do one item. If it's 9 p.m., then I plug the charger in outside the bedroom. You're handing your future self a script that plays without debate. Minimum viable consistency is your safety net. Never miss twice. You'll miss a morning, you'll blow a downshift. Fine, your identity survives as long as the next rep happens. When you slip, don't negotiate. Trigger the single clean block reset that you learned. 1 45-60-minute block, clear definition of done, micro-reward, log it. That's your identity maintenance protocol. A single clean rep ends the spiral way faster than guilt. Start tracking identity votes. Every focused block, every delayed urge, every downshift is a vote for I protect my attention. Put a tiny tally card on your desk with 3 columns: blocks, delayed urges, downshifts. At the end of the day, total them. At the end of the week, circle the days you hit your minimums: 1 deep block, 1 urge delayed, 1 downshift. Quantity isn't there to shame you, it's there to show that identity is cumulative. Okay, so how do you talk to yourself when the urge hits? Use short, present tense language. I don't scroll during blocks. Not I can't, which feels like deprivation. I finish the block, then I choose a reward. Keep it factual and immediate. If anxiety shows up, what if I miss something? Redirect to your system. I have batch windows. If it's urgent, they'll call. You're replacing vague worry with concrete rules you made on purpose. Write a small wins narrative after each block. 2 lines. Line 1, what you did. Line 2, how starting felt. Outline sections 2-4. Starting felt heavy, easier after minute 5. This builds self-trust the way compound interest builds wealth, quietly but relentlessly. On rough days, read the last week's entries before block 1. Your brain sees evidence that you can start even when it's uncomfortable. Seed identity in your environment. Put a card on your monitor. 1 block, 1 project, done. Rename your focus mode, protect attention. Title your daily doc, proof I focus. Wear a specific hoodie for deep work. Use a pen color that only comes out for the sacred block. These cues make the identity tangible. People underestimate how much a physical nudge can override a mental wobble. Bring in a focus buddy for accountability without drama. Agree on a simple protocol. You both text a 2-word commitment before your deep block, 9 a.m. outline, and a 1-line brag after. If one of you misses, the other sends a stock script. Run the clean block reset today, report back. No pep talks, no shame, just identity maintenance on schedule. Now here's where most people mess up. They try to upgrade identity all at once. Keep the scope small. For 2 weeks, your only identity promises are the morning no scroll and 1 deep block. Once those are automatic, add batch windows and the evening downshift. Then add the midday reset. Then refine with environment tweaks. Identity sticks when you layer slowly. If you push too fast, you'll build a brittle story that shatters on a busy week. Use visual identity receipts. Print 1 page you shipped, a slide you finished, a screenshot of a solved problem, physical proof that focus produced something real. Put it where you work. When resistance shows up, glance at it. You're reminding yourself that you don't just intend to focus, you ship. Shipping creates pride, and pride fuels repetition. Let me give you a quick identity sprint you can run for 7 days. Each morning, say your identity sentence out loud. I protect my attention. Start your day with the no scroll window. Run 1 deep block with a printed definition of done. After the block, write 2 lines in your small wins narrative and mark a tally in each identity vote column. Text your focus buddy your one-line brag. At night, run the downshift and move the charger. That's it. Do it 7 times. On day 8, the words won't feel aspirational. They'll feel descriptive. If you hit a day that's chaos, travel, meetings, surprises, shrink your identity promise, don't break it. 5-minute microblock, still counts. 1 delayed urge, still a vote. 10-minute downshift, still a vote. Perfection is fragile. Identity is robust when it survives on small reps. The point is not to keep rules, it's to keep being the person who returns to focus. Watch your language with others too. When someone asks how you're so consistent, don't say, "I'm trying to be disciplined." Say, "I protect my attention." When you speak it, you reinforce it. And when you ask for support, "I'm heads down 9/11, 30, you anchor your identity in community, which makes it harder to drop. Finally, run a Friday identity review. 5 minutes. Ask, what identity votes did I cast? Where did I wobble? What single friction will I add next week? Write 1 sentence to carry forward. Next week, I'm the person who starts block 1 before checking messages. Put it at the top of Monday's doc. You're always 1 sentence away from shaping who you'll show up as tomorrow. If you remember nothing else, remember this. Tools help you focus, but identity makes it effortless. Name who you are, script your cues, never miss twice, track your votes, and tell a story of small wins you actually believe. The one thing to remember, and the next action. Protect your baseline and your identity, and your focus follows without a fight. Start the 48-hour reset this weekend, then run the daily focus stack for 7 days with 1 sacred deep block, batch windows, and an evening downshift. Drop your identity sentence in the comments and report your first week's wins. Want the advanced session design I use with clients? Watch the next video on building 120-minute blocks with micro goals and recovery buffers. If this helped, share it with 1 friend who doom scrolls with you. Accountability doubles your odds of sticking with it.